All right, here we are. Kollin Moore, the Ohio RTC, also an Inner Circle member of WIBN Central Ohio Network. Kollin, tell us what brought you to the WIBN Central Ohio Network and why you think there's going to be benefit with a partnership with us.
Yeah, obviously I know a lot of the members and have close relationships because we're all wrestlers and we all, went through a really hard sport together. So anytime there's wrestlers gathered together for any reason, I think it's pretty significant and we can do a lot of good things together. As far as wrestlers and business goes, I think it's just a fantastic idea and opportunity just for everyone's future. In the RTC, we're always getting young guys coming out of college, and we really want to be a resource for them and connect them with, wrestlers who have had success in the business world and kind of can give them a lot of opportunities outside of wrestling.
Well, that's perfect because it leads right into what we do. Let me back up a little bit as we sit here in the Brad Jennings wrestling facility, Jennings family facility. I apologize for the rest of the family there. Beautiful facility here at Ohio State. There's a partnership between you two. Pretend like I don't know anything about wrestling and tell me how the relationship works between an RTC, specifically Ohio RTC, and Ohio State Wrestling.
Yeah, so I would say most schools probably have a regional training center, and the beauty of it is it's really a symbiotic relationship between us and the university. They allow us to use their room and some of their facilities, which helps us a lot. And we are a great resource for the university and their athletes as we get to train alongside them and kind of help those athletes grow, and they get to see what a professional senior level wrestler looks like. It's also a great resource for high school kids around the area. They're able to come to RTC practices if they're qualified and kind of get around college age guys and senior level guys and kind of pick their brains and see what that practice looks like. And then RTCs, there's usually not a ton of guys in an RTC, so training partners is always a problem, and that's where the university really helps us too, right? You come to a place where there are a lot of good college kids like Ohio State, and that makes it a very good symbiotic relationship between the two parties.
We're sitting here kind of in a tweening stage when it comes to professional amateur wrestling. How do you say that, right? Yeah. Not the big guys that jump off the top of the rope, but right, you specifically have the ability to make a living doing what you wanted to do after you graduated from the Ohio State University. And that's where our TCs come in, right? Yep. But we also have the ability to parlay into a couple of professional leagues that are really kicking off around here. Yeah. Not specifically around here, but in the environment of the United States. So besides senior level wrestling at the Olympic level, freestyle and specifics, how do you see the RTC role playing into that moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's hard to find opportunities to wrestle in the United States. Past college, you have a couple tournaments out of the year with the Bill Farrell, the Schultz, and the U.S. Open and Trials. So there's really not a lot of tournaments here. So unless you travel overseas, you make a national team, it's hard to compete. So I'm really excited that there's a lot of leagues like that popping up. And so a lot of people love wrestling, right? But they just don't see a pathway forward after. And so hopefully, the RTC can be a place that can, still give guys opportunities to go compete and wrestle and, help fund that and give them opportunities. We have an athlete, Jay Aiello, who's on a national team, but we talked about the United States. There's the Professional Wrestling League that's mostly in Europe, but we're going to Moscow in about a week to wrestle in one of those events. So it's very cool. I think it'll help grow the sport tremendously, and we're seeing a lot of those pop up right now in the United States, and hopefully we can get a lot of the foreign athletes to come over here and train and compete and just get different looks. I think it's going to really help the sport.
Well, all that international travel, all of that paying for housing, stipends, and all that to be able to pursue those dreams beyond, in the case of Jay, beyond that, he was at Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so to be able to do that and be supported takes money.
Yes.
So tell us how the Ohio RTC raises money.
Yeah, we're fully fundraised, and it's basically just out of the goodness of people's hearts that just, one, they either wrestled at some point in their lives or they just fell in love with our program and the people around it. And I think that's kind of the biggest part where we go and fundraise money, is we try and really build relationships with people, get them around the athletes and the coaches, and just they can see how hard of a sport it is and how hard that would be to train and compete in wrestling full time and also have a job. And thank God there's just a ton of incredibly generous people out there that help support us in that way.
Take that to the next level. Always looking for more money, right? You can never have enough.
Yeah.
There's been success in the past, the Ohio RTC. Let's get into that in a second. But moving forward, it's going to take more money. It's going to take more funding. This is a continual train that needs to keep moving. What does somebody do that's interested in giving to the program? How do they connect?
They can reach out to me. Our website's theohiortc.com. There's a link to give there. But really, we want to get to know you first. So always reach out if you want to meet, anything like that. Feel free to give without getting to know us. But we really want to say thank you, build that relationship, get you more involved in the program, and so we can just also use that relationship for our athletes in the future somewhere down the line.
Well, really, in my experience, watching from a distance for a number of years, going back with the ORTC, it becomes a family.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is you want to welcome those donors even into the family, right? Let's go back years ago. Maybe even when you were just coming on the scene, maybe you were still in high school.
Yeah.
Ohio RTC has an incredible legacy with being the winningest the winningest RTC, really up until recent years, right?
Yep.
So you get to wear that crown now. What kind of, and maybe not pressure, but how do you feel kind of driving that train forward with that legacy behind you?
Yeah, and I think we talked earlier about the relationship with Ohio State, and I think a credible part of building back up the RTC is keeping our really talented Ohio State guys home in the Ohio RTC, and I think that those guys that were there, like Tervel and Keith Gavin and Reese and all those guys, some of them were Ohio State guys, some of them weren't, but it really helped drove a lot of big recruits to Ohio State. Those are guys people want to train with. They want to come to school here to wrestle with those kids. So we have J.I.L.O., who's a big help, and I think he's going to be a big draw for recruiting. And just getting guys in that want to come wrestle with him. And then we have guys like Carson Karchla and Jesse Mendez, who are going to be graduating soon, Nick Feldman, Buzakis, who have all had success on freestyle teams. And we really want to keep them around. They know our program, they know the staff, they're comfortable here. So it's really a true two-prong thing where you want to keep the guys that are already here, that are really talented, and hopefully, plug the holes with guys that are leaving their programs where they're at.
So that being said, the landscape has completely changed from way back in the day.
Yeah.
How does NIL, how does what we see now with transfer portal and all that stuff, where as a moron fan, I just don't even, my head's on a swivel all the time. And to be honest with you, I'm old school. I get disappointed when somebody goes somewhere else. Yeah. Or if somebody comes in like Jay, it's like, oh, that's a cool pickup, right? So as a fan, you like it and you hate it. How has everything changed in the RTC world with NIL out there? Are they even related?
Yes, we do support the Ohio State team with NIL. It's always a changing landscape, and it's incredibly frustrating at times. The rules are changing quite a bit, but luckily Ohio State and their compliance team has worked with us a ton just to keep us up to date on the rules and figuring out solutions to problems. But like you said, everything costs money. So it's our budget's growing tremendously because like you said, we want to help fund the NIL and then we want to keep those guys around. So everything has grown tremendously even since I was, fresh out of college, and in the RTC. So everything costs more, which is a good thing. Money in wrestling is good. I think if it was going the other way, you'd be kind of worried about the sport. But so I'm glad everything's costing more and people are getting more and more opportunities that way. But we're constantly reaching out to new people, trying to get new people involved in the program. Our donors are incredible, but you can only ask so much of people. So our budget's growing, and we're trying to figure out that landscape. I think we're doing a really good job. We have a pretty good system in place, and we'll see how next year goes with the new rules. I think we have a good plan going forward.
All right, let's change it a little bit here. Let's talk about wrestling and you. What got you into the sport way back when? Tell us when you started, and maybe if there was a time where you knew that this was going to be what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up wrestling. I think I started when I was 5. My dad, my uncle wrestled at St. Peter Chanel up in Cleveland, state champions for them. That's where Coach Jaggers, Coach Ralph went to school also. So I grew up wrestling in that room, and I think around my sophomore year, I really decided that I was going to pursue wrestling in college. Luckily, I don't know how, I got recruited to Ohio State, and I just, as soon as I took my visit here, I knew this was the place I wanted to be. And the RTC was honestly a huge part of that, because of the guys that were training here. We had multiple people, on the Olympic team or training for the Olympics. And honestly, growing up, that wasn't even, a reality for me. Obviously, everyone wants to be Olympic champ when you're little, but when you're that close to it, I don't think I've ever been that close to an Olympian before. And just being around that environment where people are actually pursuing that was really intoxicating. So Ohio State career went really well, way better than I thought it was going to. And I think when I started, making some age level teams, I made 2 junior world teams and a U23 team, and I started to have some success in the freestyle area. That's when I really decided, probably around my junior year, that I was at least going to wrestle for a quad after I graduated. And yeah, I thought, I went to business school here, and I was just, going to school to get a degree, and then I fell more and more in love with wrestling, and I'm glad I did, because I'm still around, and just really, really excited to help the new generation kind of pursue that dream.
So in wrestling, we talk about levels. You've got a guy or gal at this level, and then they jump levels, right?
Yeah.
Air quotes, jump levels. It happens in all sports, but I would say that as from a fan perspective, you're one of those guys that totally jump levels. You're a state champ from Norway,
Yeah.
right? Come into the room, like you said, kind of surprised you got, recruited to come here.
Yeah.
You come in, and what a guy like me who always wants to know is what's going to make you jump that next level. Let me just back up and explain, because there are people watching this that want to jump a level. They might not be on the U23, or they might not even have aspirations of being in the Olympics like you did, but they know that they're going to have to jump multiple levels to get there. Is there a time? Is there something that you can point to, or is it just the overall experience that you had, literally grinding with the other guys in this room?
Yeah, I mean, my generic advice is always, there really isn't a secret to success. It's especially in today's age, right, with the internet and everything. And so there's no reason not to find it. And for me, this was where I could literally see it firsthand every day, and not only just get to see it, but get to feel it, right? So I had people that were levels above me, and not only did I get to watch them train, I got to train alongside them. And I had great coaches and training partners growing up, but I, didn't really know about the RTC when I was in high school, and so we just talked at the coaches clinic, last week for Ohio State, and trying to really just encourage high school programs around Ohio to come take advantage of our RTC practices, right? You're in high school and you can come wrestle and kind of wrap your head around what it takes to be a national champion or a world champion or Olympic champion. And I really wish I knew about it sooner and would have taken advantage of that in high school. I was only an hour and a half away from Columbus. And so go get qualified, come to RTC practices, check out the calendar. We post all of them. And just, I think that's the easiest way to jump levels. Everyone trains really hard. Everyone works really hard until you meet someone that is working harder than you. And then you realize that's what it takes. So,
I always think it's amazing when you have a bracket of 32 or 33 or 16, whatever it might be at the state tournament, there's going to be one winner.
yeah.
And there's going to be 15 losers at the Schottenstein Center in each bracket, right? And all 15 of those guys and gals in that bracket want to win that. 16 want to win that, right?
Yeah.
So I always say there's more losses than wins in wrestling. Not in the case of you. I think you lost like 4 times your whole high school career or something like that. But you get what I'm saying is you do have losses. There's always somebody better than you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you expand it to the Olympic dream, there's always somebody that's better than you.
Yeah.
Even when us fans are like, oh, that's a shoe-in, that's going to be somebody gets beat, you know, any given day. So that's what's so great about this sport. And again, I think it gives those wrestlers that are maybe 1-time, 2-time, maybe 4-time state champs to walk into a D1 wrestling room like this. They might have to pay their dues.
It's really hard.
Yeah. All right. So let's bring it back to, I got to talk about this. I have to ask you about that COVID year.
Yeah.
Everybody looked at that COVID year and, you're number 1, you're undefeated, you're going in, you just got runner-up the year before, I think, right?
Yep.
So you're coming in, everybody's, again, fan perspective, we're like, he's going to get it, he's going to get it, he's going to get it. And I don't want you to relive all the horrors of it. We all kind of feel for you at this point.
Yeah.
But looking back at the what ifs, how does that fit into your overall picture as a wrestler now?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and luckily I was in a great place, in my faith at the time. I always tell people I have a purpose outside of just being a wrestler, and I think that truly helped a lot. My purpose was just to spread the word of Jesus. So when that happened, yes, it was devastating. But my purpose in life wasn't, taken away from me. And it's funny too, I always tell people, I had 3 years to win it. So it's not like my one shot got taken away from me. And I wrestled really, really good that year. Full body of work and competed and beat just about everybody in the country. So looking back at it, it was, it was disappointing the way it happened so close to the tournament, but I could not have traded my career or time here spent at Ohio State with anything. I think the relationships I built and just the lessons I learned along the way, I don't think you can trade that at all. And, hardship and adversity is always good, right? So I can take this lesson of, something outside of anybody's control getting taken away from you. Like I can use that way down the line, in life. So it was frustrating, but luckily bringing it back to the Ohio RTC, I knew I had a home still, and I knew I was gonna stay in wrestling and get to compete more. So it wasn't the end of the line for me, which helped also, and just thank God that the RTC gave me that chance to keep wrestling.
Those lessons you learn on the wrestling mat, in the wrestling room, they're really just part of life.
Yeah.
Right? Some of us don't even get to have that kind of glory with your hand raised as often as you did, and still have to be beat down in order to get back up. Mm-hmm. That's what's so great about this sport, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the partnership with WIBN again,
Yep.
and how you see this thing come full circle. Mainly, how can Wrestlers in Business Network Central Ohio help you?
So yeah, me and Seth have been brainstorming quite a bit. We're gonna have a lot of pre-match socials, probably at the O-Line Lane before a lot of the big home duels this year. And you know, like we talked about NIL, the NIL moving forward with the new rules, we need corporate sponsors, and so there's no better place to go than wrestlers who are in the corporate world. So that's going to be a big, really resource for us, and also just, you know, guys want internships, guys want real world experience outside of wrestling, and you know, sometimes you have to think you go to a career fair and just hop into a place that, you know, you don't know anybody or you don't know really what you're doing. It's always incredibly helpful to be in a place where you're somewhat comfortable, right? You know somebody, and just really excited to explore more about what we can do with Wrestlers in Business and just how we can really help each other. But I think, you know, the biggest thing is, like I said, just growing that family around the RTC and our athletes and help and support that way.
All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the partnership. I'm looking forward to it as well. I really think that there's something unique here,
Yeah.
that's going to propel both forward. What am I missing? What else do you want to add?
Yeah, if you aren't on our email list, where we send out, you know, our pre-match socials or just, you know, fundraising initiatives, or just really want to be involved, go to our website, theohiortc.com, sign up for the mailing list. We send out a monthly newsletter and just all sorts of stuff, keeping people updated, and yeah, hopefully people see this and want to become part of it.
All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.